This episode of Talkin' About Rock is sponsored by Unleashed Music. Drawing on years of experience, contacts, and partnerships, Unleashed Music is uniquely positioned to platform, develop, and realize the vision of artists of all genres. Achieve your goals by partnering with Unleashed Music and take advantage of their decades of experience to help you create and execute your marketing campaign. Visit unleashedmusic.com for more info.
On this episode of Talking About Rock, music industry executive Vicky Hamilton from Dark Spark Music. Hello, welcome to this episode of Talking About Rock, sponsored by Unleashed Music and School of Rock North Buffalo. I'm your host, Rob Edwards. We are very excited to have today's guest with us. As one of the most successful female music executives in the industry, she's discovered and developed the careers of Guns N' Roses, Poison, Faster Pussycat, as well as working as a management consultant for Motley Crue and Stryper. For 30 years in the industry, also include working as an AR exec for Geffen, Capitol, and Vapor Records. She's owned a successful independent record label, which won a Grammy for June Carter Cash. Here to talk with us about her memoir, Appetite for Dysfunction, let's welcome Vicky Hamilton. Vicky, how are you?
I'm good, Robert. How are you?
Doing great today, thank you. Well, you've had a remarkable gift, it looks like, for working with talented artists. You know, and you noted in your book when you interviewed Tom Petty, I think he advised you to head out to California and kind of chase your dream there.
And I did just that, Still here. I think that was 1980, maybe that happened, but yeah.
And from what I was reading in the book, it seemed like it was extremely tiresome many times and a thankless job, pretty much working with a lot of these bands in the early days.
Well, and still is. I mean, actually, I think it's harder than ever these days to like pop a band to the point where they're like huge, At least back in the 80s, there were like big budgets and things like that to like help them along. But now it kind of just falls on the management and the band to like get it done,
Yeah, definitely. Things are seem like a lot harder. So let's talk a little bit about some of your work with the bands. And I was reading through the book here. What kind of caught your attention from some of these bands, such back in the day, such as like Motley Crue? What made them stand out to you?
Well, when I first saw Motley Crue, it was when I first moved to LA, and punk rock was like huge at that point in time. And I saw these like long-haired, black-haired rockers like walking up Clark Street. I was working at Licorice Pizza at the record store, catty corner from the whiskey, and then one blonde guy, and they had on stiletto heels and stuff. I'm like, what is
What is this? What's going on here? Right?
It's a little different than the look of like, the Mohawks and the colors and all that stuff. But, one day Nikki like wandered into the store and, we started talking about music, and we both loved Sweet and David Bowie and, some of the glammier things. And I was like, wow, this is like really cool. I thought these guys are either going to be brilliant or crazy, one or the other. And it turns out they were like a little of both, so.
Right, yeah. Nikki seemed to understand the benefit of the theatrics in their performances right from the get-go. He seemed to key in on that.
Yeah, no, he had a very keen sense of staging. And, early on, he told me about the pyrotechnics and the, backdrops and things that they were going to use. So when I saw them actually play the form and see that stuff in play, I like cried. I was like so happy for them. It was like the first time that I saw a band go from zero to hero,
Right. I remember seeing them when Tommy Lee was doing his drum sit, revolving and upside down and all that stuff. Nobody had done that really in that type of arena setting, I don't think.
Right. No, that was like new, but they had thought about it for a long time, so it's great to see their dream come true.
Yeah, big bang for
Apologize
them.
if the dogs start going off, it's like I have a window that faces the street and they think it's like, not okay to walk on the sidewalk. So
It's all right.
everything belongs to us.
Right, right.
Um,
So also in your dealings with some other bands, when you first came across Guns N' Roses, I was reading Axl actually called you and he was trying to push his Hollywood Rose demo to get you to listen to that. Hollywood Rose eventually, obviously, people know became
yeah,
Guns N' Roses.
right.
So he just called you up and said, come and listen to our music, and kind of brought it right down to you, right?
Yeah, he did because I didn't have a stereo. I was an agent at the time, and he was looking for some gigs. But yeah, he and Izzy came down with a ghetto blaster and played me, 4 songs, which some of ended up being on Appetite. I mean, I thought it was so amazing. I booked them sight unseen on a gig with Striper and Black Sheep, which was the band that Slash was currently in, and the rest is sort of history. So
Pretty much, pretty much. And
yeah,
and I was reading some more in your book, and someone else kind of quoted exactly what I was thinking. They were kind of like on the verge to what could be the next Rolling Stones if they had pivoted everything correctly and they hadn't kind of burned out too fast, I guess. You know what I mean? They kind of seemed like they had what it took to maybe be that.
yeah. I mean, I think they are that. It's just a slightly different lineup. I mean, they've been touring kind of nonstop for like the last, I don't know, 10 years maybe now.
Right.
So whenever they got back together, um, yeah, I think it's been about 10 years. Um, Slash would be on the road 365 days a year if you would let him, and I
Yeah, he
think
seems to love to
probably
play.
like doing that right now. He's got that blues project, and he goes out with Miles Kennedy. There's always something that he's touring. So
Yeah, he's on the Serpent tour, I think, right now. He's going to be coming to
yeah,
our area for that Blues Orgy album that he's promoting right now that he's got out. So that's going to be really cool. But back in the day, it
tried
was
to
such
get him
a
to I tried to get him to come see my band Motherwind in Nashville because I saw his post that he was in Nashville. I'm like, I'm in Nashville too. Why don't you come on down? But he was doing a press day, so it wasn't possible. But yeah.
right. They have a lot of press usually on a couple different days. But thinking back in the time frame there, like right between like when they before they released Chinese Democracy, that was just like when is this album going to come out type of thing going on forever. The
Right.
band was broken up. Slash was gone. He got some guy Buckethead or something. He was playing with them and stuff. And I don't know. It was just the direction of the band was just kind of gone at that point. Slash was doing other
Yeah.
things, but it's good to see them finally start to realize, them working collectively is what made the magic, right? Put
Even
aside
if
all
they got Steven and Izzy back in there, but
right, right,
yeah.
right. And I was reading they also thanked you at the Hall of Fame induction, and that Steven thanked you and Slash thanked you as well, which was very
Yeah.
cool to
That is very cool.
finally get a little bit of that after all you went through. And you folks can read it in Vicky's book, Appetite for Dysfunction, the crazy stuff that went on with
Yeah.
those guys just trying to get them going, and it was just crazy.
And you could buy it on my website at vickyhamilton.com and I'll sign it. So
Excellent. Very cool. Of course, definitely. So I want to chat with you about another act you worked with, maybe not as long. You worked with Poison for a little while also, and
yeah.
they seem to be a self-promoting machine from day one. They were ready
Yeah,
to do
absolutely.
that.
Yeah, they had the promotional game down for sure, And they didn't have any plan B either, I mean, I think that's probably part of the secret to their success is that they were just so driven and we're going to do this that it happened.
Right, right. Back in the days when you had to plaster, your posters and your flyers all over the place back and forth. They were always on top of their game from what I was reading in your book and stuff.
Yeah, and they really understood marketing, I think it was mostly Bobby Daw, but he was like, big generic Poison on green, so that when people drive by, all they see is Poison Country Club and the time, it's like, that's pretty smart, because when you're moving in a car, you don't have time to like read the small print, so.
Exactly. And another act you work with, I wanted to chat with you quick about, which in my opinion was it's kind of a very underrated band, Faster Pussycat.
I
Uh,
love Faster Pussycat.
great band, great songs, but I don't think they really ever got like the recognition that they deserve. What's your take on that?
Um, I think in music, it has a lot to do with luck and timing, and Faster maybe was just a little behind the curve. Um, but they've done quite well. I mean, they're still touring and things. Um, Actually, Faster is playing Rock Rally in Wisconsin. I'm going to be there. I'm excited to like see that coming up in August, because my band Mother Wind, who's like coming up, is on that show too. So it'll be fun. I haven't seen them in a while. I went around New Year's last year. It was either like the day before New Year's or the day after or something, but it was a great show. I mean, Tammy's sober now for several years. It's it's a lot different vibe. And
Yeah, I saw them a
it
couple months
feels
ago
better.
perform. Yeah.
But they write really good songs, and there's really good players in the band, now too. So yeah.
Yeah, that's what really got me, is a lot of their lyrics and their songs were just really great, I thought.
And Tammy's working on a book. It's like I'm friends with one of the guys that like is helping him write it, and he came over here and wanted to see my flyers and pictures and things. So trying to help out with that, will be a good book.
Cool. So you also started your own record label, Small Hairy Dog, in 1997 with, I
Yeah,
think, with Risk Records, and then
yeah.
you signed June Carter Cash on there. Tell me about
Yeah,
that.
that was like the only act I put out on, Small Hairy Dog. And it won a Grammy, so I was like one for one. So, you know, um, and while I was in Nashville, I just went to the Cash Cabin. It's like that place to me is um, sort of a whirling vortex of goodness. It's like it's just such a wonderful vibe. I mean, clearly I have my memories of making June's record there, and that's also where Rick Rubin made the Johnny Cash record. So it has all this like incredible history, but there's just something so sweet about it.
Yeah.
And it's in Hendersonville, it's not in Nashville, so it still feels very country-ish. And the cabin looks like something out of the coal mines in Virginia or something. I mean, when we made that record, there was like no, control room or ISO booths or anything in there, or tracking room. We just did it in like the living room. And if we burnt a fire, we had to wait for the fire to burn down so the crackling wouldn't bleed through on the tracks. It was
Right.
very much like being in the living room with June and John, which was awesome. Um, and I think people really resonated with that. They want to feel like they were on the porch with John and June, and she told stories on the record and everything too. It was just great.
Excellent. Yeah. So not only have you done all that, I was also read that you actually taught also at the Musicians Institute for a while there.
Yeah, that didn't last long, like a year. I'm not really like teacher material, I don't think. I I don't know. Just not my bag.
Right.
Other people are much better at it than I am.
Right. Well, you've definitely found your passion. You've keyed in on so many historical bands that are become the soundtrack to so many people's lives that grew up listening to all this stuff, including myself. You know what I mean? That still resonates today, and you're still doing that now and working with other artists. Can you tell us about some of the current artists that you're working with?
Sure. You know, I mentioned Mother Wind. They're doing great. They're like playing Rock Rally and Rock Fest this month. They're getting on some festivals, and it's a hard rock band, but they are just, God, so tight, and the energy, and the drummer like is maybe the most incredible drummer I've ever worked with, and the singer is amazing. They're all great. There are no weak links. It's just tight as shit and really fun. Um, I'm looking at a couple things now that I'm like probably picking up, but I can't talk about those yet because don't want anybody to like swoop down and steal them. But um, let's see, I have a great singer-songwriter named Matt Hutchinson from up in Silicon Valley area, and just put out a record with Jim Camacho, who I've known for a long time, and he had a band called The Goods that I tried to sign at Capitol Records, but he did a record that John Carter Cash produced that we just put out called Alcohol Me Now. It's kind of a fun little song about not drinking too much and like texting and dick picking and stuff like that. It's fun,
Right.
That's like the latest thing I released. I worked with a band called Bluebell Smile that put out some stuff, and they are also playing Rock Rally. I distribute a band from France called Sun Brutal Pop. They're doing quite well, and
Yeah, I was checking out some of their stuff. They sound great. Yeah.
yeah, they're doing great. There's a girl named Noanne that's on the Two Lion label. That's through my label. That's doing really well too, and super theatrical. Gosh, who else have we got coming out?
Yes, you're now the CEO and talent coordinator at your new label, Dark Spark Music.
Yeah, yeah, I
And
have
you
a
guys
great
kind of
like.
specialize in discovering new talent and breaking new artists, right?
Yeah, I kind of like being first and right. That's kind of my thing. It's not maybe the most financially best plan, but you know, it's what I enjoy. I like working with baby bands. I mean, clearly June was not a baby band when I made her record, and she was already iconic when I did that, but for the most part, like, Guns N' Roses was a baby band when I worked with them, and Faster, and Motley Crue, and it's like, and Poison, it's
Right.
like,
This is all when they first kind of hit LA and they were kind of trying to
yeah.
figure out what to
And while
do and
they're
who to
like,
meet.
figuring out their signature sound and look, and, to me, that's the fun part, is like figuring out what it can be, and then executing it. It's like, it'd be nice to make the money of like a huge success. I have not really seen that yet, but you know, I don't hear that fat lady singing. Also, I have a new book coming out called Veiled Illusions with the A, and it's like poetry that I've written since I was like a kid, and most of it's like gnarly shit about the record industry, you know.
Yeah, when I was reading your book, I must say it definitely open. If people don't know it, it'll definitely open your eyes of how quick things move and how quick conversations can change circumstances in 2 minutes, right? And all of a sudden it's one way and it's another way.
Yeah, I think the secret of success is like not um taking things personally, and that took me a long time to figure out. And it's like when one thing falls down, it's like pick yourself back up and get on with the new thing, because you know one thing I like to say is life is short, but a band's life is shorter. So it's like, you can do a few bands in a lifetime.
Right.
So
Well, you've definitely always
live
seemed to
on.
do that, right? I mean, when one
Yeah,
door would close on you with one band and they were pursuing other things or going different direction, you had somebody else kind of pretty much right away that you started working with.
yeah. I mean, it's heartbreaking. Like, I put 4 years into a band called Lovely World out of South Carolina, and they broke up. And, it still hurts my heart whenever I think about it, because they were so talented, and, but this life is not for everyone. It's hard, it's like, and it doesn't always, the talent doesn't always get rewarded in the way it should,
Oh,
So,
definitely. And you see that there's so many different moving parts to it. Or you can have such a talented band, but if they don't hit with the right music at the right time, or they don't have the right promotion or the right look to kind of coincide with everything to kind of gel, it just might not happen.
right. So, what are you going to do?
Right. So
Down
what
and die? I think not, you know. It's like you find the next thing, and it's like I have so many things I want to write right now, you know. I'm like finishing up this poetry book, and then I'm writing another thing that's kind of a love story, which is something different for me, but it's fun. And yeah, what can I tell you? I optioned my book Appetite for a TV series, so hopefully that'll happen.
Oh,
You
that
know,
would be amazing. Yeah, because
you
you
never
did.
know what happens with options, so
Right. You did a documentary too, I think a little while back too, that was out also as well, right?
yeah, I just did one on June called June on Paramount Plus, and then there was one called I Want to Rock, but Paramount Plus has taken it down for some unknown reason, but it was really fun. And I love the director Tyler Minson. I think he did an incredible job. Hopefully they're going to place it somewhere else.
There's a lot of shakeup going on there right now. I don't
Yeah,
think anybody really knows what's happening with the Skydance, merge and everything, and them taking all the MTV stuff down. There's something in the works there.
there's like some kind of financial merger thing happening, and they're
Yep.
like sort of cleaning house or whatever. And I don't know, they probably took I Want to Rock down because that other 80s thing is coming out soon. What's it called? Uh I've got some quotes in the book, but I can't think of the name of it right now. But there's another one coming.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know there's definitely a change going on behind the scenes there. I'm kind of keeping an eye to see what they do and how that all shakes out. But so what continues to drive your passion for music? Is it just seeing all the new artists and young bands that still have that passion?
Well, I feel like rock is coming back right now. It's like I feel that, and some of the A&R people I've been talking to agree that that's happening, and I really hope that's true because that's my favorite genre. It went from like mainstream to like niche. Like, rock has kind of been a niche thing for, I'm going to say 15, 20 years. And there's just so many new outlets and ways for music to get heard that it's kind of an exciting time. It's not like make the most money time, but it is an exciting time that, things can emerge from the street and like build. And, that's kind of my specialty of what I do. So I do a lot of consulting as well with bands, and help them like try and build their numbers. And that's kind of why I started this new label, Dark Spark Music, was to help emerging artists because, the record companies are not putting money into developing acts. So it really falls on the bands and the manager. And,
Right. That's another
my
thing. There's
label,
no band development anymore,
yeah,
pretty much.
it's
Like,
like my label is through the Orchard, which is Sony. So it's like major distribution. And the Orchard is only second to Universal as far as distribution goes. So it's really good distribution. And you know, I never I never quit. So it's like I went from the old school business to the new school, and I've learned playlisting and marketing and social media and all that stuff. It's like I can hire all the same people that the major labels hire. It
right.
just like takes money, which is a problem some of the time, but I always figure out a way to get around it, and I do the best I can with nothing as well, I kind of rule barter town.
Right. Yep.
um, and where would we be without music? It's like this new kid that I'm like trying to sign. It's like he has this song that's so brilliant and it's only had like 4,000 streams. I said to him yesterday, this is a hit song. We need to like present it in a different way so that, more people hear it because it's brilliant. 4,000 streams is nothing. So,
Right.
uh,
Yeah, it's definitely all a social media game right now. Just hitting that niche, like you said, right, promoting it correctly and kind of getting in that. And I think you're right about definitely about the rock thing. And it's definitely, I've talked to a couple different people about this. It's kind of changed where it's like an all-inclusive type of thing now. So it's a little bit of rock, it's a little bit of dance, it's a little bit of hardcore in the new stuff. It's kind of all mixed together in the younger generation is kind of what they like from what I see.
And then they're like hybrids of things, and
Right.
it's cool. I like it. I find it exciting. I'm waiting for some like major scene to break out because there really hasn't been anything since like grunge and like hip hop. There's
Right. What's going to be the next big thing?
Yeah, the next thing. And I would like to see some stuff come back to California, obviously, because that's where I live. But
Right.
I forgot to talk about Trick the Riddle, the New York band I'm doing. They're coming in August and they're amazing. So they're playing Bar Sinister and they're playing um Hotel Ziggy, which is Grant Owen's thing called We Found New Music, and it's going to be great. They're actually playing with Bluebell and another band called Nameless that I think are pretty cool. But yeah, I knew that I was forgetting one major one, but
Right. I know you got so much stuff going on. We really appreciate you taking some time and chatting with us. Definitely love to hear about all the new music that you got going on coming out. Please feel free to, send it our way and check it out. I appreciate it. Well, just want to thank you so much for being with us today, Vicky. Folks out there, you can pick up Appetite for Dysfunction from Vicky Hamilton and visit
.com.
darksparkmusic.com and contact Vicky to see the latest artists she is working with. And just one last thing before I let you go. Do you have any advice for young bands? What do you think they should focus on maybe nowadays? Is there any advice you can give them?
Um, Firstly, I would say, stay true to your aesthetic because eventually the time will come around to you. It's like if you're changing to meet the current times, then it's probably too late. Like the time moves on and then, you get left in the dust. So it's like, whatever your true passion is, follow that. And, you know, release music like singles. This is one thing I know for sure. It's like if you release an album, it will burn up in like a month's time, like a single will. It's like the 60s right now, where it's like a 60s singles market. And it's smarter to release a new track every like 6 weeks to keep the algorithm going, as opposed to releasing a whole record. I would say release a few singles and then release an EP. That people just have ADD. They don't have time to pay attention to a whole record, and maybe they'll listen to it one or two times, but it probably won't take hold if you release a whole album.
Yeah. Do you think the video is still a great tool to use for music?
Absolutely. It's like, it's a visual world. I'm not like a big fan of these AI videos, but you know, make a video that speaks from your heart and don't make it overly dramatic like a AI thing, yeah, you know, YouTube is a great market to like promote videos. Instagram is a good place. You can put it up on Submit Hub and maybe some like influencer will pick it up and help you get, a few thousand streams too. It's like a cheap thing to do. Like you put $50 into Submit Hub, it seems to take hold if it's like the right thing when it's like new. Don't put it up after it's been out because that doesn't work for some reason. But yeah.
Yeah, it's all about the algorithms on all those different ones, and they constantly change them for sure.
Yeah.
All right, so cool. Well, I just want to thank you so much for being with us today. I appreciate you taking the time.
Hey, Robert, thanks for having me.